Hi friends, in this video we are going to discuss about the concept of factoring. It is one of the important area in Indian financial service. Factoring is a type of financial assistance that is given to manage the proper flow of production or managing the efficiency of an organization. It is a process of supporting or assisting a financial institution to a company or a firm, because of there will be a gap between the production and there will be a working capital cycle, so during which the company has to manage the entire amount of that is the source of fund for their day-to-day requirement. So once there will be a situation of a credit sales is happen, it is of course the duty of the company to manage that particular one by taking fund from an outside source. In that case, factoring plays an important role. So this is the concept of factoring. A factor is an intermediary agent that finances receivables. Of course, there will be a situation of a receivable or a credit management situation. So factor is an intermediary agent that financing such type of a receivable situations or a credit management situation. It is a financial assistance or a support that is given to a company for better functioning during the time of management of the particular working capital cycle. It is essentially a funding source that is agreed to pay a company the value of invoice less a discount for a commission and fee. So normally there will be a process of factoring that will be based on certain amount of commission and fee for that factoring company. Of course, you can see there is a picture in this video. There will be three parties are there. There will be client, customer and factor. Of course, factor is supporting the client. Factor is supporting the company by taking certain amount of fees or commission. For they charging certain amount of fees for this financial assistance in the form of the amount that they have advanced. Let us see what will be the process of factoring. There will be a particular company and there will be a situation of a credit sales and moving that goods to a particular customer. So this is a process. In that case, there will be a situation of credit sales, the amount that will be collected after a certain period of time. So in that case, the company can approach a factor or agent for getting some sort of financial assistance. So factor is actually they are connecting between these two parties. Actually, the company don't want to collect the amount directly from the customer. So the factor is collecting the amount from the customer and giving to the company. So this is the concept or a function of a factoring situation. So in that case, if they are giving some sort of agreement between the company and this factor or an agent, so in that case the factor will give some amount as advance to the company for managing their working capital requirements. The factor is giving certain amount to this particular company for managing their working capital requirements. So in that case, they can bridge the gap between that is the amount that they have spent and they have started the production, they have finished the product and they sent to the customer. So they can manage the operation by getting this type of advances. So in that case, it is important. Then let us see when there will be a due date situation. That means there will be a situation of repaying the amount of customer. In that time, the amount is collected from the customer and it will be given to this particular company. In that case, there will be some situation we will discuss later. So this is the process of a factoring. So there will be a company and there will be a situation of credit sales and it will getting the money after a certain period of time. In that case, the company can approach to a factor or an agent. So the factor will give some sort of advance for meeting their working capital requirements. So when the due date arises, that factor will collect that particular amount from the customer and give that amount to the company. So the company don't want go directly interfere the operations directly involved for collecting the cash from the customer. So all that things will be done by this particular factor or that particular agent. So this is the process of factoring. Let us see the concept once again. So the practice is actually it is known as factoring, or it is called a factoring finance or a accounts receivable financing process. These are the other names of factoring. It is a factoring or a factoring finance, or it is related to the credit management. So it is called a accounts receivable finance. So it is three names are there. It is called a factoring, factoring finance, or accounts receivable financing situation. So here the factoring offers a valuable source of funding to the business. So it is giving a valuable source of funding to the business, and it is an option for managing the company's cash flow. So there will be a cash flow situation, and it will support and assistance the company's cash flow. That is the importance of factoring. Then another one is like this. Factoring is a form of financing that helps the companies with the cash flow problems due to slow payment clients. As we discussed in this that particular operational part of that video, we are going through, there will be a cash flow problem, there will be a slow payment of a client. So of course there will be some sort of slow payment of client situation. The factor or the agent will support the company to meet that particular financial crisis. So that is the importance of the factoring. And and in addition to that, the business it is a type of finance to the business which improves the most important thing, that is managing your working capital cycle or the operating cycle. Maybe you know the concept of working capital, the amount of capital that is required to meet the day-to-day operations of a business. So the working capital cycle or the operation cycle of a firm will be different. If in case of a manufacturing concern, the length of working capital cycle will be very high. So you have to go for cash to raw material to finished goods to debtors to cash. The length of operating cycle will be very much it will take some time for getting the cash again. So in case of a financial concern, of course the cash to debtors and debtors to cash, you can get it directly from the that is from the customers. So in whatever the situation is there, in order to manage this particular working capital requirement, the importance of a factoring is there. So that is in that case the importance of a factoring situation. And I will show you, there is an example. Once there will be a repayment system from the part of that particular customer to the factor. As we discussed, the payment is collected from the customer to the factor, and there will be a repayment situation from the part of that particular what is called that particular customer to the factor. So the payment from the factor to the company will be like this. I will tell you, this is the amount actually collected from the customer by the factor. So they deduct the fees that they have charged, like the processing charges and all that is incurred for that particular situation, that is deducted from the amount that they have collected. Then they again deducted the interest of the amount advanced. So as we have discussed earlier, we know there will be an amount advance situation for meeting the working capital for maintaining the working capital cycle. So if any amount of interest that any amount that you have paid, they charge some specific interest. So that again will going to deduct from that particular one. Interest is deducting, and after that they will deduct the amount of credit, that is they will deduct the amount of credit. So after deducting that, the balance amount will be paying to that particular company. So three deductions are there. One is the fee, second one is the interest, and the amount advanced to that particular company. So three amounts are deducted, and the balance is the amount that you are paying to the particular company from the part of a factor to this in this situation. So let us see, the factor is essentially, it is a funding sources that agrees to pay a company the value of an invoice less a discount for commission or fees. So value less discount, less commission, less the advances that they have collected. So that is it is the funding source like this, as we have discussed in that particular calculation process. They deduct that the value less their commission, less their interest. After that, they will pay the amount to that particular company. The terms and conditions and of the factor to this particular company is depending upon the it is not it is actually there is no clear cut rules regarding the terms and condition. It will be varying according to that particular situation. So each and every situation they will be formulating different terms and conditions and strategies. Even the repayment situations, collection situations, all will be varying according to the credit sales and repayment situations. So it is important because it will be one of the factor that will be helpful for maintaining the credit worthiness. So when there will be some company, they have a purchase, they have some sort of the problem for managing the cash. So factories, of course, it will be a support for maintaining the credit worthiness of that one, and that will be in that case it will be a process that will be managing the credit or the receivable management effectively from the part of an organization. So in that case also the factoring is very important. Let us see one of the definition of a factoring, and this is the definition that explaining like this: factoring implies a financial arrangement between the factor and a client. So two parties are there. It is a financial arrangements between two parties, that is the factor and the client, and in which a firm, the client, gets advances in return for receivables. In this case, the firm gets advances in return for receivables from a financial institution, that is called a factor. It is a financing techniques in which there should be an outright selling of traded ups by the firm to the third party. So normally it is a financing techniques to the firm from the part of the factor for the credit sales to a third party. So that is, a factor is at discounted prices. So normally the process of factor is at discounted prices. So that is the importance of factoring. So let us see another thing in this case is that they are not paying the entire amount in advance. They are paying only a part of the amount to this particular company, and this is because they are expecting that there will be a situation of a bad debts. So if there is some sort of bad debts or something like this happen, of course it will be have to be there. So of course they are paying only a part of the amount in advance because they are already expecting that there will be a situation of a bad debts. And this is a financial alternative. Actually it is a financial alternative and a financing and management of your accounts receivable. So that is also an important thing. It is a process of a management of finance, and it's state the terms and conditions of the sales in factoring agreement. So once they are making an agreement, so we will discuss types of factoring and all in the next video. So here the terms and conditions will be there of there for the sales agreement is also they have mentioned in this factoring agreement. Let us see some of the advantages of factoring. And factoring have certain advantages like this. There are many factoring companies, so the prices are usually competitive. This is one of the main advantages. So there are so many companies that are involved in the factoring process. There should be some sort of competitive situations there, so they can manage the price up to a certain limits because of so many companies are involved on it. Then it is a cost effective way of outsourcing your sales ledger while freeing up your time and manage the business. So it is a cost effective strategy, so for managing your entire working capital requirements. So it is the second one. And the third one it assists smoother cash flow and financial planning. You can make a better planning by using factoring technique. That is the next advantages of factoring. And another one, in some customers they respect factor and pay more quickly. So in case of a customer and a company, there will be an intermediary. So of course there will be one more party is there, factor is collecting the cash from the part of customer, so they respect the factors. And maybe there will be involvement from the part of factor is for collecting the amount, so they will pay the amount very quickly to this particular company or the factor. Then the factor will give you the useful information about the credit standing of your customer. So normally when you're giving that credit to a customer, of course you'll go through the character, the capacity, the condition, the collateral, and all that things we have to evaluate. So in that case, the factor is also evaluating the credit standing of the customer. So you have to go through a credit to a customer. In that case, a factor will helps to give a better credit standing of the customer. So that will helps to make a better negotiated terms and conditions to your customers or suppliers. So that will be the another advantages. Then another one is factor can provide an excellent strategic as well as financial resources when planning business growth. So this is one of the excellent strategic factors are one of the excellent strategic as well as the financial resources when planning to a business growth. You are planning for your growth of your business, so factor is one of the excellent thing that you can do for your business. So otherwise normally there will be a stoppage of production, otherwise you can pay for your employees, otherwise you can't manage your internal financial requirements. So efficient financial planning that you can make with the support and assistance of factoring. And you will be protected from bad debts if you choose non-resource factoring. So we'll classify the factoring into non-recourse factoring and recourse factoring. So we'll discuss in the next video. So what are the types of factoring and all. So you can protect if you choose non-recourse factoring. Of course you can protect it from the concept of bad debts. So I'll just explain the factor of a non-recourse factoring. This factor bear the loss of bad debts in case of a non-recourse factoring situation, and recourse factoring situation it is not the factor not bear the loss of bad debts. So we will discuss that entire things in the next second part of factoring video. So the factor can bear the loss of bad debts. So this you can protect it from bad debts in cases of non-recourse factoring. So that is the another advantages of a factoring situation. So the cash release part, there will be some sort of advances will be getting from the to this particular person when there is an agreement, or the company when there will be an agreement with this particular party. So cash is released as soon as the order is involved, and it is available for capital investment and funding of your next orders. So cash will be released by the factoring company to that factoring factor to this particular company, and you can make it for your capital investment and funding for your next orders. So that is also another advantages of factoring. And factor will go for the credit check of your customers, and as we have discussed earlier, normally once there will be an agreement between the customer and this particular company, the company will go through the credit worthiness of the customer. So in addition to that, the factor will also check the customer's credit worthiness. So in that case, a better quality, you can select a better quality customer for your trade operation. So that is the another advantages of the factoring process. So let us see some of the limitations of factoring, and the first one, of course, as you know, once you are making an intermediary on part of yourself and your customer, that is called a factor, you have to pay certain amount for the factor. So of course there will be in part of profit, there will be a reduction of the profit situation. So that is one of the limitation that we are seeing. The profit that can be reduced by a significant margin, because you have to pay certain amount as in the form of a fees or in the form of interest. You are paying certain amount, so the profit is also going to affect. Then the reliability of the customer credit is the another problem. The factor assess and evaluate the credit worthiness of the party who owns the bills receivable. So this is a critical factor which is outside the control of the seller. So actually factor is doing all that things. Evaluate the credit worthiness of the customer is done by the factor. It is not by the seller. So that is one of the problem that you can see. So a factor can refuse and extend advantages due to pure credit rating of the concerned party. If the factor feels that a customer is not able to repay the amount, of course they can reject that particular agreement also. So that is the another thing that you can see in cases of factoring. So that is the second limitations of factoring. And the next one is you have to make some sort of collateral security. The factoring there will be some sort of bills and all for there in case of factoring situation. So the seller no longer holding the control over the book debts, hence cannot provide a collateral security while obtaining any other types of finance. So once you want to take any other types of finance, there should be exhausting of collateral securities. So once you have to produce your bill for taking some other source of fund, taking some other source of financing. So it is very difficult once you are putting a factor in between yourself and your seller. So that is another limitation. And another limitation is possible to harm to the customer. So because yourself and you are selling the product to your customer and you are involving a third person as a factor for collecting and all that things, from the part of factor there should be some sort of harmful or negative effects, or negatively involved for collecting the amount from the part of customers. So that is one of the things that will give a negative image from the part of a customer to that company. So that is another type of disadvantages of the factoring situation. So these are some of the important things. In addition to that, the company image distortion. So normally if you are involving a third person for collecting and all that things, they feel that they feel that the financials, they are not at all financially sound. They are difficult to manage their working capital requirements, so difficult to manage their financial operations. So in that case, financial difficulty, the outsiders, they feel that they have some sort of financial difficulty from the part of that particular company. So in recent times it will be changed like that. It will be considered as a normal way of doing business, but there will be a feeling from the part of the outsiders that there will be some sort of financial distortion of that company's finance situation. So that is a feeling from the part of outsiders towards this particular company. So this is another one of the major problem that we are seeing in case of a factoring situation. So we have discussed about the concept of factoring and the process of factoring, what we are doing. So the concept of factoring, there will be three parties are there. There will be a company, there will be customers. In addition to that, there will be an agent or a factor. And there will be a situation of credit sales. In that case, they are appointing a particular agent or a factor for collect the amount from the customers, advances to this particular, giving advances to the particular firm. They are acting as an intermediary between the customer and the company. So the factor is collecting the amount from the customer by charging certain amount of fees and interest and all that things. So they are supporting, they are giving some sort of advances to this company for maintaining their working capital requirements. In all these cases, factoring is one of the important source of financial services from the part of a company. So this is the conclusion part of your factoring first part of our video. So we'll discuss the types of factoring on all those things in the next video. And thank you all for watching this video, and have a nice time. Thank you.